One guy with two thighs and two eyes. Taylor Swift, the stories behind her biggest songs exclusive interview. Let's just watch it and see what she says. I've seen some brutal reactions to some of the more disagreeable comments, but interviews like these are always clipped. Maybe there are portions where she's kind of talking about stuff that's like more on point. We'll see. Let's just watch it and see what it's got. Here we go. Take it away, Taylor.
It's still such a mystery to me, even though I've been writing songs for so long, and I've started songs and finished songs so many different ways. They've gone through so many journeys. They've happened quickly. They've happened over time. They've been inspired by my life, by mythology, by fables, by books, by movies, by characters, by warnings, lessons, and they never quite happen exactly the same way. And I still don't quite understand how it works.
With what Taylor is saying here, I think this is a cool statement to open up this conversation. I mean, I'm sure it'll pop up later in the interview in full context, but this is part of why I rant and rail against AI music. And when, guys who are, CEOs of companies like Suno come on and say like, making music and learning to make music is so fucking hard and stupid and lame. Don't you want to have some other interface or AI do that for you? And I don't know, maybe if you're a fucking loser that doesn't love the adventure of creating an art, I mean, say what you will about Taylor Swift's songcraft and how her songs come out, but part of the fun of making art and making music is that, it's never like the same way every time. Every song is different. The process is different. Even if you're sort of like trying to land all the tracks and the sound of all of them within like a certain kind of like parameter of vibes or aesthetics. Like, there's a certain creative process that takes you on a different journey or adventure with each a new tune that you create. And that's a beautiful thing. That's very cool. That's very cool. It's very exciting. As somebody who thinks creativity is awesome, that's an exciting thing that the CEO of some shit AI music company should not be poo-pooing and trying to sort of like turn people away from and destroy their curiosity when it comes to the, questions and curiosities of making anything cool.
There's an attention to detail when you are like 17 to 22 years old and you're longing, or you're reaching and grasping but never holding someone's attention or someone's love or someone's dedication, and you can't understand why. You spend all day thinking about it. You notice everything. You notice candle ash on the cuff of the shirt and the button. And I've always tried to, without being a completely unhinged adult, keep that level of detail and intensity when it comes to trying to describe a feeling.
I mean, let's be real. I do think Taylor Swift, on some level at the very least, is a bit of an unhinged adult. I don't think you write some of the songs that are on Red, especially 10-minute versions of them, if you're not at least like a little bit unhinged as an adult. But you know what? Like, as an artist, that's not always the worst quality to have, so long as it doesn't like seep into your personal life and keep you from doing stuff that you need to kind of maintain regular important responsibilities and obligations that you have as a living human being. But creativity wise, being a little unhinged, it's not a bad characteristic, not the worst characteristic to have.
I think the first songs that I fell in love with was the type of songwriting that I think folk and country is really kind of known for. It's like that story time structure. Songs like Harper Valley PTA or Goodbye Earl by the Dixie Chicks, or any amazing Kenny Chesney song where
Yeah, amazing and Kenny Chesney are not words I would put together in the same sentence. There's a lot of great country songs out there. You don't want to roll that back a little more, just in terms of like time period or like influence. I mean, at least she's being real. I mean, if you could say one thing about Taylor Swift, she is not listing off the kind of country artist that you would if you wanted people to think you were really cool. Are really plugged in. I'm a fan of that sort of traditional style of country songwriting that you hear, a Dixie Chicks or a Kenny Chesney, exemplify on their classic albums. I'm sorry. And I mean, you can hear it too. You can really hear it in her work. It's, something I'm not crazy about. If you go into Taylor Swift's backstory, there is like a bit of a to-do she had with a music critic like early in her career where this person put her on to Joni Mitchell, and it was a bit of an aha moment for her creatively. And, sometimes I just sort of see the effort and the vision and the purpose in a lot of Taylor's writing and what she's like shooting for and attempting and what she's going for. And occasionally I'm like, man, I just think of like where this person could be at if like the rubric they were working from wasn't Kenny Chesney, like there are so many. Listen, and I understand, like sometimes when you're young, you grow up, you're raised on all sorts of stuff that you didn't choose to listen to or be exposed to, there's all sorts of stuff that I enjoyed as a kid, some of which aged really well. And I'm really happy to have been a part of like my adolescence musically, some of which it aged like shit. And, I've had to kind of like come to grips with later in life, like, oh, this isn't that good, but I came to sort of like enjoy more interesting, deeper, more dynamic music, in the wake of kind of like coming to realize some of that stuff that I liked when I was 12 maybe doesn't sound so good when you're 40.
But then lyricism, I was the most intensely impacted by emo music, right? Dashboard Confessional, Chris Carrabba, Fall Out Boy, Pete Wentz's lyrics, how they take a common phrase and then they just twist the knife of it, right? Like,
twist the knife of it? I don't think that's an idiom. Twisting the knife is an idiom, but like not, she's twisting the knife of twisting the knife.
I got a publishing deal when I was 14. I was signed by a guy named Arthur Buenahora, and I would just go to school. Then my mom would drive me downtown 30 minutes, and I would go and I'd have a songwriting session with someone that I'd never met before, but I really didn't want to come in unprepared. So I'd walk in with 4 to 5 nearly finished things, 2 half-finished things, 10 hooks, because I just never wanted people to be like, yeah, there's this like little kid that thinks she can swan her way into Music Row and just like write songs with these hit songwriters.
Again, say what you will about Taylor Swift, the quality of her songs, the way that she acts in the industry, so on and so forth. I mean, think of where you were mentally and emotionally at that age that she's talking about. That's pretty crazy for such a tender teenage person to step into those kinds of spaces and just be like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. With people who are probably 10 years your senior most of the time and have hits under their belt, have worked with way bigger people, have written, there's proof in the pudding. They've written songs that are probably on the charts. And, at that age to get that opportunity before she was even famous as a songwriter, as a solo artist, to just go ahead and do that and just not shrink away from the opportunity is really cool. There's not a lot of teenagers who could or even would think of doing that. There are people who don't feel prepared to do that in their 30s, So did she also move states for that? Maybe she did, but either way, that puts the pressure on even further. So really crazy that at that age that she would do that, with still being like a relative unknown. She's probably about as ideal as a safe commercial artist can get. In 2026, yeah. No, I would say in 2026, yeah. As far as not incredible artists that the industry forces on the world, they've done a lot worse than her. No, they have. I will say, like, do I think Taylor Swift's fame and the control that she has over the music industry and the charts, just by virtue of like, overselling singles on her website is a bit outsized? Yeah, it most definitely is. But has the industry in the past forced way worse shit down our throats? I mean, maybe your perspective on this is different if you're Gen Z, but as somebody who grew up during the 90s and 2000s as well, no, most definitely not. There have been way worse songwriters than Taylor Swift that hit peaks of fame that, felt nearly unescapable at certain points in culture. I'll say that. But hey, you know what? Things can always get worse from here. Maybe I will change my tune on that, in 2 more album cycles. But as of right now, it's certainly not the worst.
I loved the Reputation album. I was like, you guys say what you want. I know what I did. I love it. Like, go with God. Sorry. Like, you can come around if you want. It's okay if you don't. And then, 6 or 7 years later, people are like, oh my God, like, ready for it. Like, people slept on that song.
Ugh, Taylor's bad girl era. Somebody in chat is saying that there are times in her music where she can portray herself as crazy and reckless, especially during the Tortured Poets Department era. I will say there are instances, yes, during that album cycle. There are points where I feel like she comes across that way, and I don't think it actually reads with that framing, and it's actually quite like, in my eyes, a little creepy, like on Black Dog, where she's like literally describing herself watching this person's location on their phone because they forgot to take her off of the, location sharing on the iPhone. And she's just sitting there and describing this sort of like experience as if it's normal, while describing and naming the bar that they're at in the song as if everybody who's her fan isn't going to obsess over this location now. That sort of thing is so weird. You should stop yourself. Or at the very least, not say the name of the bar. Look, given what Taylor Swift has said so far in this interview, she's clearly aware on some level, like, okay, I have this tendency in my writing or the way that I think about or obsess over certain things, where I do get a little obsessive, and I do need to stop myself short at some point. Like, I can't go maybe as far as I feel inclined to go naturally. I don't think she's totally without self-awareness to the point where, she's lost it completely and doesn't know what she's doing. I think she is more, broadly speaking, as an artist, as a person, more calculated than she is just throwing caution to the wind. But there are times where I wish that she would just be a little bit maybe more reined in, which I know some of her fans are going to read as like a really terrible remark to make. But I'm talking more in terms of like, you have a certain platform, you have a certain audience, everything and anything you say is going to get a certain kind of exposure, so kind of like consciously leading your fans on these weird, almost like Easter egg hunts of like, oh, I wrote this song and this is the person it's about, this is the location where it happened, so on and so forth, is a bit much and really does nothing to enhance the songwriting itself. All it does is just send your fans on a really weird, wild goose chase. It's like you're doing an ARG with every song or something. And, frankly, I just find to be a little kind of unflattering and beneath her if she really considers herself to be more of a songwriter than somebody who's using their music to kind of do social experiments or something.
I think the first time I felt like, I don't care if people hate this because I love it so much, was when I wrote the song Love Story, when I was 17, sitting in my bedroom, mad at my parents because they wouldn't let me go on a date with a guy who was too old, so I shouldn't have been on a date with him anyway. And this is
I hate to be in that dynamic. Well, I'm glad Taylor Swift's parents didn't let her date the older guy when she was 17. W for Taylor Swift's parents there. I think the mark of a true artist is the ability to do or create or record something that you're like, I think people are going to hate this, but I'm just going to fucking do it anyway because I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it because I really genuinely feel it. I'm doing it because it would pain me to not do it, regardless of whether or not, again, people enjoy it. And I'm glad that at least on some level she has that quality. I mean, again, Taylor is somebody who historically in some context, she definitely does pander. But you can't disagree. Like, she also has had a history of like doing shit that she clearly knows like is not going to make her very likable.
I have little phonetic things. I love alliterations. She
loves twisting the knife.
Two words that start with the same letter. Love that. I don't like to have a word end with the same letter that the next word starts with. For example.
Wait. A line or a word end with the same letter the next word starts with? I have all of my own personal little sort of like quirks with like how I'll write things and phrase things and, put things in a video or whatever, because I feel like a lot of it comes from years of announcing on the radio. So there are certain phrases or words that come together that are difficult to say back to back. So I'll try to like come up with an alternate word to sort of use in place, just because of the ease at which it's said. But like generally that's such a weird quality to have. Is it just because of like the way the words look or the way they sound together? Like if you said bad day, you know, like the word BAD, bad, ends with D, and then the next word starts with D. I had a bad day. Like there are some words that last letter, first letter flow pretty well or create some pretty common phrases.
In the song, Our Song, it was supposed to be when you're on the phone and you talk real low. But I was like, I don't like the real low. So it's turned into
Really? The real low? That's such a weirdly specific thing. What? I'm actually kind of blown away by this admission. I mean, if it works for her, it works for her. And if she gets a song out of it, she gets a song. It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just such a strange hang up. It's crazy that she gets as much done as she does. Like, because there are so many phrases and things that frankly are just easier. Like I just said, bad day. Like there are just so many things that are easier to say or put when you're not having to think about that rule and instill it upon yourself.
I'll go into a session. I don't have social media on my phone. Like it looks like I'm just endlessly scrolling, but I'm scrolling through the words in my file. If we're in the middle of writing a song, I'm searching for a perfect line that I thought of 4 years ago at 3 a.m.
I tend to believe this. I think Taylor actually does not have social media on her phone. And the reason I do believe this is because Taylor has enough money to where she can 24/7 pay somebody else to be on social media on her phone for her and then relay back to her any relevant or important information that she must know in terms of the things people are saying on social media about Taylor Swift.
We established this thing that we love to do, and we call it the rant bridge. I could point to examples like
Taylor Swift, inventor of the rant bridge. Is this at all like the, classic bridges of country and songwriter music and even, soul and vocal pop from like the 50s, early 60s where, the instrumentation really slows down? And you start talking like this. There was a day when she'd look in my eyes, but now when I see her, all I do is cry. It's like, is it a further evolution of something like that?
Stream of consciousness, endless pouring out of emotion, intrusive thoughts, like blended with metaphor, with discussion, with shouting. Like you want this rant bridge to feel the most intense of what that feeling is that you're trying to establish over the course of the song.
Cruel Summer's a banger. Can't take it away from Cruel Summer is a banger and a half. Like definitely one of the best Taylor songs ever, period. At least Taylor cares enough to sort of feel like, well, I want certain parts of the song to feel like different emotionally or have these different sort of intense emotional peaks. Certainly more thoughtful and interesting than a track that just feels very one note and boring. And
I do kind of like it when people challenge me on something, because I never want to be in the room with creators who are afraid that if they have a better idea, like they can't argue with me because it must be my idea that makes it through. I'm never going to grow that way.
That's right. That's right. You can't be a pussy if you're walking into the Taylor Swift song octagon. You got to bring your best ideas, and you can't be afraid to throw them out there. Which, I think says... which I think says something about the, again, the kind of culture that she said she came up in terms of like, joining on these songwriter sessions as a teenager and getting dropped off at these places. She can't even drive yet. Getting dropped off at these places, getting put face to face with these seasoned songwriters and then just having to just do it. She's used to that dynamic. She came up in that context. I'm glad that at least from what she says that she still sort of tries to embody that, in whatever writing sessions that she's doing today.
The 2010s was a time for women in the entertainment industry that we need, we'll talk about it later. We're all still limping away from that. And I think that conversations are much more healthy now around, there's a difference between art and going and ranting on an Instagram live. There's a difference. This is a song. This takes craft. This takes skill. This takes expertise. But I also...
Were we confused about those things? Was there ever a point where we thought those were the same thing?
that, like, I'm a massive somber fan of his songwriting, and his lyrics are so intensely confessional. I don't like want another man's child to have the eyes of the girl I can't forget. Are you kidding me? Like, having a male artist say stuff like that is really good for the cause of women to be able to say stuff. If there's any
I saw this quoted, but I had no idea that it would sound this bad when she actually like uttered it with her mouth.
people take that as sort of like you were being messy or whatever. You have to be fair to everyone then. Our rap beefs.
No. Oh God. She's trying to walk us through the logic of it, and it's not logicking for several different reasons. One of the main reasons being, like, Somber isn't even in the fucking top 10 of most confessional songwriters, period. I would argue that when it comes to songwriters who are relatively popular in known quantities, that his music isn't even that much more confessional than the average. But then in addition to that, Miss Feminism here, one of her most favorite lines or arguments to work into any song where she's talking about the experience of womanhood, and I'm not saying this, there isn't a point to this, but like one of her most favorite points to make is like, oh, did you say or do a thing that only a man is allowed to do and say? Like, since when men do things, are suddenly women allowed to do them? There's all sorts of double standards when it comes to men and women, especially in art. Like, and Taylor knows this. Why is she pretending like Somber being confessional in his music is making it easier for women to be confessional? What the fuck? It doesn't even make sense. I don't even understand why she's saying this. This is like she's made diametrically opposed arguments many more times over in her own songs.
I think the more male artists that are messy or emotionally complex or confessional or upset, the happier I am.
I feel like Taylor is very much a peak example of this not quite making sense. One of the things that like people famously say about Taylor Swift over and over and over and over again, especially people who don't really, care that much about her music or kind of like, just casually aware of the songs that she writes and what she does, are just always being like, oh, all she does is write songs about her ex-boyfriends. That's all she does. That's the number one thing she writes songs about. That's all she writes songs about. And very provably no. But also, there are plenty of men who, for album after album, have written tons of songs. Some of their most popular songs are about literally their exes. And, they don't get derided in the same way with the same kind of pigeonholing with every single time they come out with a song, every single time they come out with a record. So, I mean, that alone is proof of like, just because men do a thing doesn't mean women suddenly get allowed to do it. And again, I'm not citing that as like a positive thing or a good thing. I'm saying that is very much a currently existing bias and, element of sexism that doesn't just get alleviated via a Somber song.
I have to know that like there's certain things that we have as a tradition between me and my fans. They love for an emotional song to be track 5. There's like special things like that. But there's corners of my fan base who are going to take things to a really extreme place. There's nothing I can do about that. There's people who...
I wouldn't say there's nothing you could do. I would say nothing at all. I wouldn't say, oh, my fans, they go a little crazy sometimes, but whatever, it's dust in the wind. I don't know. It's completely out of my, what do I even say? What do I even do? I don't know. They just do stuff.
Who are going to try to like do detective work, figure out the details. Who is that about? What is this? When it gets a little bit weird for me is when people act like it's sort of like a paternity test. Like, this song's about that person, because I'm like, that dude didn't write the song I did. But that's part of it. You have to hold tight to your perception of your art and your relationship with it. And then you just kind of have to like, there it goes. Hope you like it. If you don't now, hope you do in 5 years. And if you never do, then I was doing it for me anyway.
Okay, wait. Okay, before the me anyway bit, like, okay, you are fully aware of the content that you put in your own music. Like, what you named the bar that your ex was at, as you could watch him on his location on his phone on Black Dog. Like, you named the place. You knew your fans were going to find out where that place was. Like, come on, be real, be serious, be honest now. Like, there probably are some things that she puts in her music that, like, in terms of who it's about, maybe fans are only able to put two and two together on because, you know, she's become such a famous and public person at this point. And, you know, people have like a sense now because they're obsessed of like when she dates certain people at certain times. You know what I mean? She probably can't help that on some level. But, you know, to also simultaneously turn around and do tracks where you're offhandedly mentioning an ex's, you know, like opiate addiction at one point. It's a little much. You know, it's a little much, especially since like a lot of the people who follow you then turn around and harass that person with that information and, you know, sort of like step all over them with it when it's like a disgusting way to attack somebody. Especially given, you know, the particular person that's about, it's no secret. There's so many other personality traits he holds that are like, you know, detestable. No, I don't completely buy this argument. I don't buy this argument. I don't buy the idea that it's like, oh, there's nothing I can do about it, really.
And then you just kind of have to like, there it goes. Hope you like it. If you don't now, hope you do in 5 years. And if you never do, then I was doing it for me anyway. Yeah, criticism has.
I feel like that's a little cope, honestly. That's actually literally cope. That's not even a little cope. That is literally a textbook definition of cope. To be like, I'm a world famous pop star who knowingly and consciously as a profession writes songs and writes music. And not to say Taylor Swift hasn't written music before where she's like, fuck it, I'm doing this for me because I know I'm going to like it. But to be like, I'm writing music for this wide audience of people. But then when I come to realize nobody likes it, well, I was doing it for me anyway. That's like, you literally just coped it before our very eyes. Like, sure, you can write a song thinking beforehand, like, nobody's going to write this, but I really feel this way. And I want to say it anyway. It's important to me. That's fine. That's coming from a real place. And you can write a song being like, man, I think this is a hit. I think everybody's going to like this. Does it always bear out how you plan it in either scenario? No. But like to say, I'm writing this for all of you. And then, well, if you don't like it, I was just doing it for me anyway. Fuck you. Like that's cope. You're coping. That's literally cope. You're being a copeaholic.
And then Antihero is a song that I'm so proud of still. Like, that song doesn't exist if I don't get criticized for every aspect of my personality that people, you know, have a problem with or whatever. Did you hear my covert narcissism, like disguised as altruism? My favorite thing when
such an awkward, bungled line that like you only work into your songs when you're so worried and obsessed with like the criticisms people have with you that you have to sort of like pathologize and make sure that you work in every sort of like, you know, DSM term to like, you know, come up with a good retort. Like it's too much. It's too much.
I sit down with new artists or songwriters and I'm like, why are you reading your comments? Like, that's too much of it. Like, you're inundating yourself with too much criticism.
Wait, pause. Like I said earlier, maybe Taylor Swift's not literally reading her own comments. I guarantee she's probably paying somebody or somebody on her team is. Like, if you're not aware of what the comments are through whatever means you become aware of them, how are you working the criticisms in the songs to respond to the criticisms? Like what do you mean? Maybe somebody is reading their own comments too much because they're a smaller artist who came up in a different age than you did. Like Taylor Swift wasn't worried about what people said on fucking social media when she came out with when she came out with Fearless. That's not how the music industry and entertainment worked around that time. Yeah, remember how she thought Charlie XCX hated her? That's an excellent point.
Like, don't make this make you stop writing or make you edit yourself or whatever. If it's an interesting point to you to kind of respond to, then that's a gift for you to be able to write something. Maybe you wouldn't have written something that day. But don't don't go to the like notes app and post it. Like, write about it. Right? Make art about this. Don't respond to
Taylor says keep it on wax. Taylor says go in the studio. Taylor says cook in the stew. Call up Jack Antonoff, have him put together that beat, get it tailor-made, and then hop on the mic. Guys, that's the Taylor interview right there. That's the conversation about the Taylor interview. Some interesting points. There were obviously some ridiculous things said that people have been reacting to, but more often than I feel like there were some educational moments and some really interesting sort of like perspectives around the industry and songwriting in general. And, I think key insights into sort of what makes her process work and her experience, what sort of like paints her experience as she's still writing today. I don't think I will ever get over the fucking letter ending a word, letter starting the next word thing. Like that is an insane rule to hold in your head. Even crazier, obviously, than like track 5 has got to be the emotional song. Last letter, first letter is crazy to me. But again, it's crazy and very impressive that she gets as much done as she does while trying to step around that landmine. It's almost like not wanting to step on a crack because you break your mother's back or something. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, especially all y'all on YouTube. Over here next to my head, another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Taylor Swift, forever.